Today we have with us Manish, Sequent's Managing Director, Sharath, Joint Managing Director, and Tushar, CFO, to share the highlights of the business and financials for the quarter. I hope you've gone through our results release and the quarterly investor presentation, which have been uploaded on our website as well as stock exchange website. The transcript for this call will be available in a week's time and on the company's website. Please note that today's discussion may be forward-looking in nature and must be viewed in relation to the risks pertaining to our business. After the end of this call, in case you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to the investor relations team. I now hand over the call to Manish to make the opening comments.
Thank you, Abhishek. Good morning, friends, and thanks for joining us so early in the morning. A very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us for our Q4 and FY21 earnings call. As Abhishek mentioned, joining me on this call is Sharath Narasimhan, our Joint Managing Director. I must apologize on behalf of Tushar Mistry, our CFO, who is on this call but will not be able to actively participate. Tushar had a cardiac intervention last week and has joined the call at my request, even though he has been advised rest. He shall be more accessible in about 10 days' time once the compulsory rest period gets over. The year gone by has been different for the world, as also for the animal health industry in general, but more particularly for Sequent in more than one way. I will actually take an opportunity to give a little larger commentary this time, so I hope I have that privilege. I would like to start with some thoughts on the industry. Globally, animal health industry got distinctly separated from human pharma since about 2013, and this trend is now extending to India. Carlyle's investment in Sequent and the recent development around Zydus' animal health business point towards unleashing the potential of Indian animal health companies globally. I would like to believe that this is just the beginning and the better days are ahead as the Indian animal health industry gains traction and attracts more and better talent as well as visibility. The year gone by has been landmark year for Sequent in more than one way, as we demonstrated the strength of our unique business model in a very challenging and unpredictable environment caused by the pandemic. Even though we were partly insulated because of the nature of the business or nature of the industry we are in, COVID did come with significant operational challenges. In addition, there were multiple initiatives at Sequent led by the change of ownership during the first half of the year. We have used this opportunity to build even a stronger framework of governance for sustained growth. We also had extensive engagement with various consultants in second half of the year to establish a framework for growth, or what I would like to call Sequent 2.0. I'm glad to say that the Sequent team overcame the operational challenges, facilitated a smooth ownership transition, including the new and a very diverse board, and worked with various consultants to chart the way ahead without taking their eyes off the day-to-day operations. None of this would have been possible without the steadfast support of 1,700 plus employees across geographies. At this stage, while I would like to express my gratitude to the employees for their commitment, I'm also pained that all of this came at a cost, especially during the deadly second wave that hit us hard in India and at Sequent. 2 of our employees lost their lives in India, with almost 20% of the organization stroke employees affected, most of them in the second wave. While lives cannot be replaced, both the promoters in Sequent as also the corporate Sequent, like corporate India, rose to the occasion and has contributed to the financial and mental well-being of the employees. As the report says, a third wave is expected, and I hope and believe that we are better prepared as a country as well as a company to deal with the same. As we speak, 90% plus of our staff has received minimum 1 dose of vaccine, and it is a matter of time before everyone in the company gets inoculated. On the business front, during the year, we commercialized 3 new APIs and made 4 VMF or US filings, taking our total filings to 23 with the US, in addition to our 11 CEP approvals on the API front. We also had our first formulations filing in the key markets of US, Canada, and Australia. One of our key products launched this year, tulathromycin, our first formulation development from Indian R&D Center, delivered ahead of our expectations. Our R&D team is working on a strong pipeline of 35 plus products under formulation and 8 plus molecules for the API business. We also signed a multi-year, multi-product agreement with a large animal health company, marking our foray in the CDMO business. The agreement entails co-investment by them at our Vizag facility and shall contribute to our growth from calendar year 23. As mentioned in our earlier earnings call, our debottlenecking project at Mahad is completed, while the capacity expansion for formulation at our German facility had to be deferred to FY22 due to COVID-related execution challenges. The first phase of Vizag expansion project is now complete and operationalized, while the second phase will be completed in the coming year. This will enable us to deliver on our business requirements as also maintain growth momentum in the coming years, even as we aim larger in the next journey. Our India business has been a key performer during the current year. While we built on our strength in India, we also operationalized a multi-year, multi-product arrangement with Zoetis, which was operationalized from 1st July 2020. We also consolidated our minority interest partners in Turkey, Belgium, and Netherlands during the year, with Brazil to follow during the current year. Before coming to financial performance, I wanted to bring to your attention that during the financial closing for the year ended March 31, 2021, the management detected certain instances where revenue in respect of certain sales transactions were recognized on dates earlier to those allowed by the group's revenue recognition policy, as well as certain modifications of underlying documents relating to revenue recognition. The management brought this to the attention of the auditors and audit committee, and under audit committee's supervision, a detailed review was undertaken and all cases of such non-adherence where revenue recognition was accelerated were identified. The board has taken the findings on record. The financial implications, though not material, are comprehensively detailed in the note to the results. We have corrected the processes leading to such non-adherence and will continue to strengthen them further, and there is no continuing impact. Further, during the year ended March 31st, 2021, the company has reviewed and revised the amounts of foreign currency translation of goodwill arising on acquisition of foreign subsidiaries. Goodwill arising on such business combinations is translated from functional currency of respective foreign subsidiaries to INR, which was hitherto being translated to the functional currency of the acquiring entity. This adjustment has had no impact on the P&L statement. Coming to performance for the year, our revenues have grown at 15.5% during the year, with our formulation business outperforming our overall growth. Formulation business performance in Q4 has been particularly encouraging, with key geographies of India, Turkey and Brazil clocking impressive growth, even as Europe getting back on growth track as well. Our EBITDA from operations stood at 61 crores for the quarter and a little over 237 crores for the year, with operating margins at 17.4%, while our net profit stood at 95 crores for the year with a growth of 36%. With consistent strong cash flow conversion of upwards of 70%, we have been able to reduce our net debt significantly, even as we invested in consolidation of minority interest and capex. We expect this momentum to continue, and we expect to be a debt-free company within next 2 years, subject to any inorganic opportunities. We continue to place a high priority on the productivity of our capital utilized and are pleased to see our ROCs rise from 7.8% in FY18 to 20% plus in FY21. The board has also recommended a dividend of 25%. The stable revenue growth, sustainable expansion in margin profile with the continuous reduction in debt has also led to a rating upgrade from two-notch rating upgrade during the year. This is testament to our robust financial performance and resiliency of our unique and sustainable business model. The company has also rolled out a new ESOP scheme in March 2021 to align the long-term interest of management and employees to the long-term business goals. I would now like to touch upon what lies ahead of Sequent or Sequent 2.0. Towards the end of Q3, we had engaged with advisors as also our goal to shape our new enhanced vision and strategy for the next journey. I'm happy to state that we now have an identified path to take, which shall largely reflect in the bolder steps that we take as we expand our footprints into the key missing markets of the US, select EU and select Southeast Asian markets, make injectables as our core domain of strength, both in terms of R&D as well as manufacturing, make a foray into the pet business in select markets of India, Turkey and Brazil, and finally get into complex or value-added generics, leveraging our API, strong presence in the API business as well. Towards this expanded vision, we shall be both scaling up our manufacturing footprints with investments in the region of $30 million over the next 24 months, spread across all geographies, but also strengthening and upscaling our global management team. We shall keep you updated as more talent joins us. You would appreciate that some of these investments will be significant, keeping a long-term view in mind, and will have limited impact on business over the next 2 years. We expect to reap the benefits of these initiatives after a couple of years. Therefore, while we continue to guide towards a mid-teen revenue growth in the medium term, we shall also be investing and building our organization and governance structure for the larger vision for Sequent 2.0. As we transition the company towards higher growth and governance trajectory, the board, the management team and employees are both committed and excited by this opportunity of creating a true powerhouse in animal health from India. With this, I now open the session for question and answers.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Mr. Bharat Seth from Quest Investment. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Manish and team. Congratulations on good set of numbers. Manish, your commentary is very, very bullish. So if one has to really look at, from 3 to 5 years, because currently is whatever you have said that we are investing in some of expanding for a bolder step. So if one has to really look at from 3 to 5 years perspective, where would you put our company in absolute vision? So if you can say, and what would be the EBITDA margin currently if we are investing in building a team and also for a growth opportunity?
Yeah. Thank you, Bharatji. See, if you look at our past, we have been guiding to a mid-teens revenue growth and a 150 to 200 bits margin improvement.
Correct.
Yeah, what we are doing today is we are taking a break from that in terms of margin expansion because we are building up now the next level of infrastructure for even a faster growth that will start showing up in next couple of years. So that's the only thing we are changing. I think the revenue growth and the momentum of the business will continue. However, we will use this opportunity to scale our ambitions. And while I cannot guide you to numbers because it is a blend of both organic and inorganic initiatives, but I can assure you that the next journey will be bolder, will be bigger, and certainly, I believe, with better outcomes.
So when you are talking on high teen growth, mid-teen growth, we can understand. But EBITDA, what could be, see if we are taking a break, so from 1.5 to 2%, which earlier we were looking at. So it will remain at stable or maybe a gradually improvement or may decline because of some of the investment which will be in the OPEX nature.
Yeah. So I think again I will look at the longer term picture rather than getting into short term 1 or 2 years. Because see, there is a ESOP cost also, which is a booking of expenses. It is not a non-cash. It is a non-cash cost.
Correct.
But having said that, where I'm coming from is the margin expectations of say 5 years down the line stays intact, or maybe even better than what we had originally forecasted. What we are only suggesting is that the next 2 years, we are not going to chase margin expansion, but chase capability built up.
Okay.
If it means that margins expand slightly slower or even dips a little, I think that's not the objective we are focused on. But if we fail to build up the capabilities, I think that will be more disappointing in this journey. So, with the new board, we have a very clearly articulated direction where we are headed. Certainly, we need to upskill and upscale for that vision. It will call for some investments, both in physical infrastructure, but more importantly, on the management bandwidth. And when you have global talent, I think that's what we will be building on. So the 5-year journey will be far more exciting is all I can say. But guiding margins for the next 2 years is slightly difficult at this point of time. It will not be something that will change dramatically, but we are not going to chase margins at the cost of growth.
Okay. Now, then our foray into this pet business in India, Brazil, and Turkey, you see. So how big is the opportunity really we see? Maybe over a little longer term perspective, 3 years to 5 years?
So again, it will be a meaningful opportunity for our scale of business, but putting numbers around it is inappropriate at this point of time because it will again be a blend of organic and inorganic initiatives.
Okay, and last bookkeeping
Sorry
question.
to interrupt you.
Sorry, one bookkeeping question, if Manish, if you can permit.
Yes, please, Bharat bhai.
So, of course, Tushar is not there, so I'm not sure whether we have answer. But I've been looking at cash flow of full year as well as a tax provision, whereas a cash flow outflow is much higher than the tax provision. So, any color if one can share, or we can take a later on with from the Abhishek or Tushar.
Yeah, I think this question is better answered by Tushar. So if you can allow us a couple of days once Tushar resumes, we'll do. Yeah. Thank you, Bharat bhai.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. VP Rajesh from Banyan Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Congratulations on a good set of numbers. My first question was just on the API side, we show very little growth in this year. So if you can just provide a little more color on what the plan is on that side of the business.
Rajesh, I'm not sure if I got your question right. Can you please ask again?
So, Manish, my question is regarding the API business.
Yes.
The growth this year has been very low. So I'm just trying to understand how one should think about that piece of the business over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. So I think if you take away we were growing at about 18% in the API business in the first 3 quarters, and the growth has been slower in the last quarter. So all in all, even otherwise, while it is slower than the formulation side of business, it is still a 14% growth in our API business for the year, with some slowdown in Q4, which is largely coming from certain. We have one product called albendazole, which is a WHO procurement product as well. And there has been certain slowdown for right reasons because WHO obviously is diverting their investments into other areas at this point of time. So it's temporary blip in that sense, and we do expect us back to mid-teens revenue growth on the API side of the business, which is not very different from an overall business growth even for this year.
Correct. Okay, that's helpful. My second question is, among all the one-off expenses that you have listed out,
Yes.
are there going to be anything which is going to be recovering, especially the consultant line item, the first one?
Yes. So, obviously the ESOP cost, which is a non-cash cost, is going to be recurring, and that's why we have clearly articulated this is the 1 month impact. So you'll have to multiply it by 12 for the first 12 months impact of or FY22 impact. This impact will keep reducing as we go along because of the nature of accounting, which is through a Black-Scholes model to be done on this. So that is one cost which will certainly stay. Some of the, I won't say consultant costs, because consultancy was kind of one-off cost or a one-time engagement, but there will be certain elements of continuing costs in different forms. Okay, because so you would have seen that we have brought in this concept of advisory board, and we will be strengthening that as we go along. Okay, so some of these costs will continue, but it will not be the kind of lumpiness that you saw in this current year.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you. I'll get back in with you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Mr. Saket Mehrotra from Tusk Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi. So the first question is on this Indian market growth for the full year. We've seen almost a 100% increase. Is it because of, say, the rearrangement with say, some of our partners, or did we start tapping into newer opportunities? So any color on this and what can be a sustainable rate going forward?
Yeah. So certainly, I think if you look at our Indian market performance, a part of this growth is coming from our commercialization of Zoetis portfolio, and part is coming from our own business performance. And I would kind of split it 50-50 between the two. So certainly, as we go along, while the growth will taper, but we do expect to maintain fairly rapid growth in our India business even going forward.
Okay. The second question is on this strategic advisory board that you've got. You've put a slide on that, on slide 7 of your investor presentation. So any sort of more details you would want to give on this? What is the thought process behind this?
So, if you look at the last part of our deck, which is about Sequent 2.0, you will see that fundamentally we are transforming in this next journey from a branded generics animal health player to a specialty branded generics animal health player. And to that extent, we will need to bring in people who have those kind of capabilities, connects, knowledge about this industry. We have to see the future. See, as a generic company, we are a backward-looking company. When I say that, it is about existing products and creating demand or replacing demand. We are now moving to a direction of creating demand, and that requires people with very different mindsets. And this entire advisory board is to fill up those capabilities for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense, Rakesh?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Rushabh from Pravin Ratilal Shares. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just one question on the steep devaluation of Turkish lira that has happened, in Turkey, and we have close to 15% of our revenue coming from Turkey. So does it at all affect financial statements in this period and the coming periods?
Not at all. So clearly, see, the way we operate in Turkey is we keep readjusting our price list after a couple of months based on how the currency behaves. So while technically or officially pegging with the dollar is not allowed in Turkey, but in an informal way, I won't say informal way, but you keep an eye on that, and based on that you keep revising your price list. So there is no sustainable impact. In fact, you will see that our Turkish business is performing very well. It continues to perform ahead of our expectation, and it actually serves as a good opportunity for scale players like us, because these kind of devaluations impacts the smaller players in the country and gives opportunity to the larger players to gain larger market share.
But we do have our receipts in US dollars only, right? Or is it in lira? I mean, the kind of sales we do in Turkey. Just wanted to understand the business front of it.
Yeah. So everything in Turkey is done in Turkish lira. The sales are in Turkish lira. Obviously, most of the expenses are in Turkish lira. A small part of expenses which relates to the API purchased from outside Turkey will of course be in foreign currency. So to that extent, there will be certain exposure, but through a blend of exports and also, regular financial monitoring, those are fairly well contained.
Okay. And just one question on slightly a longer term outlook. So, 2 years back, I even read the con calls of Sequent Scientific, and there you used to guide that we would have, by 2022, we would have a return on capital of close to 20%, and somewhat the management has walked the talk. So, going down the line, presently we are a 1,300 crore top line company. So as and when we grow to a 2,500 top line crore company, would we see a net profit of close to 500 crores, which is like a 15-20% sort of a margin going down the line 5 years? Some sort of guidance if you can give on that front.
I cannot see that long a future, honestly. We know the journey. We know the curve we are chasing. I think financial outcomes are best determined by people who are closer to this. Our job is to stay focused on business. I can assure you that the curve going ahead will be steeper in terms of outcomes, but I would refrain from giving any guidance around numbers.
Okay. And just a small bookkeeping question, if I could squeeze in. So, our other expenses for the quarter 4 of FY21 have risen quite substantially. Last quarter we had some 65-66 crores, and it's now almost 10 crores plus. So, what is this component which has led to the increase in these other expenses?
So I think that more or less is explained in that EBITDA bridge. Because we hired consultants and engaged them on various initiatives. So slide number 11 of our investor deck will explain that.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than the ESOPs cost, which would have gone into the employee cost, all others would have gone into other expenses.
Okay. Thanks a lot, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Divan from Family Office. Please go ahead.
Hi, Manish. If you will be patient enough to listen to my questions, I've got a couple of them. But to start with, this advisory board that you have now constituted, and then the appointment of a consultant, it does appear that you have bitten off more than what you can chew, and you are really struggling for skills. And this is something becoming really unwieldy for you. You are refraining from giving any guidance, which is all right, but it really does appear that you are floundering in terms of managing the acquisitions. Can you give me some insight into this?
I don't know what gave you that impression that we are floundering and that's why we are seeking help. What we are seeking is technical guidance around the industry, around the future. This is not execution guidance. It's all about getting multiple perspectives around the future of this industry. And this is transitioning from a a branded generic model to a specialty branded generic model. So I don't think it's about taking help for execution. It's about co-creating a larger framework for the way forward.
Having an advisory board and a consultant, and in the same time you're also talking about upskilling and upscaling. These are all kind of counterintuitive. Please explain when you say this upskilling, what is the upskilling that Sequent is looking for?
So when you get into specialty generics, can the same R&D team deliver? Answer is probably no. We need to bring in the next level of capabilities. So what is happening at Sequent is, with the change of promoters, we are establishing a new vision for ourselves. It is not that we are continuing the same vision. We are now upscaling the vision, and upscaling of vision also calls for upscaling of the skill sets of the organization. And that's what we are building as part of this journey. Clearly, Carlyle is looking to upfront the investment in the first 2 years, because only then, being in a pharmaceutical equivalent industry, it takes 3 to 5 years for your investments to start paying off. That's what we are doing. I cannot take away the impression you may be having, but it is a very well thought out initiative that has been taken. These advisors were brought in to help us co-create the vision, because it's not a very well documented industry. You have to bear that in mind.
Well, that's the reason why I thought that this is giving a kind of an impression that it is very difficult to manage. Anyway, now I understand where you are coming from. The other question that I wanted to understand from you is, are there any regulatory changes that are happening in the market that Sequent is operating in, which possibly will require the company to reorient its strategy?
Not really. Our industry is extremely and fairly regulated, in line with human pharma. I don't see any changes happening in that regard.
Sorry, Manish. Let me clarify. I'm sorry. I might have given an impression. I'm not talking about Sequent and the business that Sequent is operating in. I'm talking about the customers that Sequent has. Are there any regulatory changes that is impacting the animal industry? And is that going to have any impact?
Yeah. So again, I don't think there are regulatory changes happening, but there are directional changes that may be happening. And that is why I was referring to this entire thing of specialty generics, or how the industry is going to transform over the next couple of years. Okay. And that's the preparedness we are working towards. It is not regulatory. It is about customer preferences, and every industry undergoes that.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Diwan. I'll request you to come back in the question queue for a follow-up question.
Thank you,
Jivan. To all the participants, please restrict to 2 questions per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. The next question is from the line of Mr. Prasad, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Prasad.
Yes, I would like to know how much ESOP impact in next year, in FY 2022.
Yeah, I think if you multiply the number that has been disclosed into 12, would be broadly the impact for the current year.
Coming around 60 to 65 crores. That is what will be the impact?
Yes.
Okay. And so you said we cannot increase the EBITDA operating margin, but it will be around 15 to 17% tentatively. We can take it like that. Because last year we have done 17%, right? So we can consider 15 to 17% will be maintained for next 2 years.
Yeah, don't hold me to it, but I think that should be more or less there.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Karan Sharma, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Am I online?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, my name is different, but anyway. Congratulations for a good set of results. I was wondering if you could provide any color on the the CDMO deal that you have signed, maybe the size of the deal or whether it can impact our top line materially.
Certainly, it is material for our API business. I'm assuming you're referring to the which particular deal did you refer to?
The CDMO multi-year, multi-product.
Yeah. So it is both a CDMO and also product supply business, covering about 2 products on the CDMO side and 6 products on the product supply side, which is our existing products. Certainly, it is going to be relevant for our API business, and that's why we are guiding towards the mid-teens revenue growth even on the API side of our business. It will start contributing meaningfully from calendar year 23. But does it make a huge difference at a corporate level? Answer may be yes, but limited.
Okay. And my second question is the foray into the pet market that we have. I'm curious to know whether we are only targeting India, Brazil, and Turkey markets, or do we also have a strategic vision for targeting US, Europe, and developed markets there for the pet products?
So I'll respond to this in 2 buckets. So in Europe, we already have a pet business. So the market we operate in, we sell both both large animal and pet products. If you look at real differentiator of Sequent, it is really our 3 key markets of Brazil, India, and Turkey, which are high growth markets with their own unique set of challenges. That's where now we are getting into building our existing business by getting into pet business. Our US strategy is currently we are building up a portfolio of pet products, but we have not looked at how we will commercialize. And that is something which we will probably look into as we get closer to the commercialization. So we, in a nutshell, we certainly have a pet strategy at the back end of it, but purely from US angle, we do not have a clearly articulated commercialization strategy, whether we'll do it through partners or on our own.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Hardik Bora from Union Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And well, congratulations on achieving this 20% ROC mark, Manish. This is, as other participants said, you really have walked the talk. So I'm sorry, actually my network was weak and I missed the line on the guidance. I think you are refraining from giving any guidance for the next year. But just as far the long-term, the roadmap was laid out by Sequent a while ago, that 5 years, 3-4 years down the line, that does not materially change, right? As far as the revenue and the profitability trajectory is concerned. Just wanted to have your view on that.
Yeah. So Hardik, what we are saying is, historically we have been guiding towards a mid-teens revenue growth and a margin expansion of 150 bps year on year.
Right.
What we are changing is that we are no longer guiding to margin expansion in the short run, because we are building up costs for upskilling and upskilling. Okay. For the next wave of journey. So we continue to maintain our revenue growth margins for the medium term, and we do expect revenue growth to actually accelerate in the later part of the tenure. But for that, we need to build up costs, and that's why we are not giving any margin expansion guidance. That's the only change we are doing.
Understood. Fair enough.
But just to add one more thing, but overall, we expect that Sequent 2025 should be bigger and better than the earlier vision that we had for the company.
Okay. That's helpful. Okay. If I may follow up on this, till what year do you expect that these costs will basically hit the profits before contributing to the top line? So could one expect this near-term pressure to be there for 2 years, 3 years? If you could give me that idea.
No, I don't expect pressure. It's just that we are taking away the expansion guidance. Okay. So we are not saying that margins will start dipping or those kind of things. We are saying the expansion is no longer what we are chasing. We would rather invest and build up a better future. And this will be typically for next 18 months' time, not longer than that.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Understood on that part. One is on the balance sheet. So we still have some shares of our the side group Solara now. So just wondering if there's any plan on reducing that also, selling that stake as well.
So we have always maintained that this is treasury investment for us, and as and when needed, based on the guidance of the board, we will look at monetizing it for right reasons. But it is in a way growth capital for us.
Understood. Thank you so much and all the best for the future. I'll come back to the queue if I have more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Adik.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Rishabh from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi. Good morning. Am I audible?
Hello. Please go ahead. Go ahead, Rishabh. Line is not very good, but let's see.
Okay. So, what are the plans for the US in terms of inorganic growth? Have you started looking out for a possible target, or the company plans to build its own portfolio organically there?
Rishabh, I don't think I could understand the question very clearly, but I did understand that you were referring to something around inorganic growth. Now, inorganic growth, certainly Sequent has grown inorganically even in the past, and we are always open to inorganic opportunities. Today, we do have access to a wider network through the Carlyle system for evaluating or seeking inorganic opportunities. So it's something which is ongoing. Very difficult to set any targets around it because we are not going to chase number targets around inorganic. We are chasing strategic opportunities as far as filling some of the missing gaps in our portfolio, either in capability or in the market. So inorganic will be always a bit opportunistic in that sense.
And what are the plans for the United States specifically in terms of growth opportunities?
Sorry, Rishabh, I couldn't understand your question.
Just a second.
Rishabh, your line is not very good, so I would suggest you...
Hello?
Yeah?
Can you hear me clearly now?
Not very clear, but give it one more shot, otherwise you may have to connect directly to us separately.
Okay. So, I'm asking, what are the plans for the US specifically in terms of growth drivers? Like, are we planning to grow our portfolio organically there?
See, certainly we are going to grow our portfolio organically, without doubt. Having said that, we are also open to inorganic opportunities for US, because that will only help us accelerate our growth plans for the country.
Okay.
Thank you, Rishabh.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Arpit Shah from Stallion Asset. Please go ahead.
Hi, Gupta ji. Just had a couple of questions. Just wanted to confirm the ESOP cost for the year will be 60 crores?
Yes.
So earlier EBITDA is close to 220 crores. So if the ESOP cost will be close to 60 crores, would that be an impact?
I mean, it depends on how you look at it, because mathematics, see, it's a non-cash cost first, I want to highlight. Second is, if you understand the way the model works is, it is a reducing kind of number. The highest impact is in year one, and then it keeps coming down. So, yes, the first year impact will be 60 crores. It will keep going down as we go along, probably go down to 60% of that, and then 40 and 20. That's the way it works. Having said that, I think it's an investment for the future, which is what, I mean, shareholders have approved this, and that's how this is being kind of accounted for. Does that answer your question, or you have anything specific to ask on?
No. Got it. Last quarter, I think so we spoke a lot about China. How are we planning to enter China? Carlyle has a system over there. But this time you've not mentioned anything pertaining to China, be it with consultants or with advisory councils. So what is the strategy with China?
So, China obviously is a very important animal health market. And as I had mentioned earlier, we are relying on the Carlyle network and expertise as far as that market is concerned. Having said that, given the geopolitical situation, we obviously are we are waiting for things to settle down before we start looking east. Does that answer?
Got it. I just wanted to understand the business profile for CDMO. That one customer that you have signed, what are the return ratios looking like over there? What could be the mix going forward next 3 to 4 years?
Sorry, come again. I don't think I understood your question.
We just signed up one customer in the CDMO space, right?
Yes.
I just wanted to understand what are the return ratios specifically over there and what could be the mix, our revenue mix going forward, let's say the next 3 to 4 years.
I don't think I'll be able to give you that granular information. It is highly proprietary. Okay, so please forgive us for that.
So it's with a US-based innovator company?
Sorry?
If you can just answer it, is it with a US-based innovator company?
Again, we are bound by confidentiality on that, but it is very easy to guess. There are not many innovator companies. See, CDMO has to be with the innovator company, and there are not many in this space.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Rajat Srivastava from InCred Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. Sir, my question is around the CDMO business again. Just wanted to check whether are we going to use our existing facilities for this or we are going to do some incremental capex and create a new block for this business?
Yeah. So the current work is obviously being done from the current setup that we have. But if you look at our investor presentation, we will be working on creating something specific as well, not for this particular business, but as an overall CDMO capability. On the investor deck, slide 24 captures that a dedicated CDMO unit will be created within our current infrastructure at Vizag. When we say CDMO, it's exactly the same, but it is more flexible.
Okay, but for this multi-year deal, we don't need to do any capex.
If you see, the multi-year deal includes a co-investment proposal by the company.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it. And sir, could you also throw some light on the current capacity utilization, please?
So this is always
and in your formulations side?
Yeah, this is always a difficult question because capacity is also a reflection of your planning or inefficient planning. Having said that, in pharmaceutical business or the kind of business we are in, you always build capacities ahead of the demand, and which is what we continuously do. If you ask me technically, I don't need, if I have to do, or if I don't need to chase growth after 2 years, I don't need to invest at all. But all our capexes that we are talking of, again on the slide 24, is all about looking at a 5-year vision and creating those capacities ahead of the curve.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, and that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajat.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Hardik Shah from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Sir, sorry I joined the call 5 minutes late, so please pardon me if I am asking you something which has already been covered. But sir, in a previous investor presentation, sir, the 9-month profitability was around 855 million, and the current year profitability is 950 million. But still our quarter 4 PAT is around 200 million. So I'm not able to understand what the difference is.
I will have to come back on this because I'm not very clear. Is it
So there is a 100 million difference without the impact of minority.
Yeah.
Manish, if I may.
Yeah, Tushar.
Yeah. Hardik, you may just refer to note 14 of the results that we have published and refer to that. There will be clarity in that.
Okay, sir.
Thanks, Tushar. My request, Tushar, don't strain. You sound you don't sound good. But thanks for clarifying, stepping and clarifying this.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Jigar Walia from OHM Group. Please go ahead.
Hi, morning team, and thanks for the opportunity. My question pertains to Turkey. Turkish lira, we've seen significant depreciation, not just against USD, but even against INR over the many years now. Business is growing. We've even expanded capacity. I want your perspectives on export opportunities from outside of Turkey, and at what point in time it becomes a more viable or a better option along with the exports from India.
Yeah. So actually, Jigar, Turkey is actually a jewel in our crown in a way, given the unique geopolitical location and also some of the strong entry barriers that country has. And it is it's an injectable business. Another development is obviously now it is also the facility is approved by the EU authorities. So we will be looking in this next phase the Turkey business as a far more strategic business from a global perspective in this next wave of journey, and it will become so with the consolidation of minority stake that we have done recently in Turkey, we'll have a complete say in the proceedings going forward, and we will be developing our Turkish operations not only for Turkey but also for our both emerging markets as also for Europe. And I believe a lot of these currency risks will therefore be tackled through that.
Great. That's very heartening. So other question is if you can help understand opportunities and a strategy for Canada and Australia.
Yeah. So see, as of now, we are looking at Canada and Australia opportunistically. They are important markets in animal health, specifically Australia. And what we are doing is only leveraging our current portfolio for those markets. But as we go along, we probably may develop a distinct strategy for those markets as well. But right now it is just an adjunct strategy of commercializing our existing portfolio that we are developing for the regulated markets in those markets through partners.
Understood. How big would Australia be or can be for us going ahead? Can it be like a double digit for us?
Right now we have not looked at it that way. But my guess is you allow us some time. We have plenty of things to be achieved in next 12 to 18 months, and we'll look at Australia and Canada in the phase thereafter.
Understood, sir. So last question from my side with regards to CDMO. Are we looking at just new molecules, or are we also actively targeting site transfers, etc.?
So, site transfer technically comes under CMO business.
Yes.
So far, we had not chased the CMO business. Having said that, if there is a good value proposition, we can look at it. But again, our bigger focus is on getting into CDMO rather than CMO at this point of time.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jigar.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Karthikeyan VK from Suyash Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks. A couple of things. Could you give some timelines for the German injectable facility targeting the US markets and the filings timelines?
So we have already made our first filing for US, and more will follow. Commercialization will obviously take time because FD approval has to happen. Current scenario is not so good in terms of their inspection because our facility at Germany is yet to be inspected. So difficult to give a timeline for approvals, but the portfolio is under built up.
Right. Right. A second, a slightly broader question. Given your own track record in terms of, very cost-effective acquisitions and the attractive valuations of Sequent, is the stock a good currency for an M&A, a slightly more aggressive M&A strategy?
Certainly
a stock deal.
Yeah.
Is that in? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think that is definitely going to see the change of promoters or the new promoters and the new board certainly will help us kind of increase our risk profile in the right way. Okay, so I do foresee that we will be little more aggressive without being foolish about it.
Right. So it is an active part of your compensation set.
Sorry, come again?
I said stock swap is a part of your, M&A plan. Is that the way to think about it?
No, sorry, come again. You're saying will we use stock to acquire?
Yes.
Yes. I don't have any such mandate from the board.
Fair. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ms. Alisha from Envision Capital. Please go ahead. Alisha, sorry to interrupt you. We are unable to hear you. Hello. Alisha, I'm sorry, we are unable to hear you. May I request you to join back the queue, please? Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akash from BOI AXA Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Good morning, Akash.
Yeah. So earlier, the first question is you highlighted that over the next 24 months there will be some 4 crore out of investment. Could you help me understand the split between this, between the API and formulation? That's the first question.
You are referring to capital investment or you are referring to the skill investment?
No, the capex.
Yeah. Capex would be, my guess is about 25% would be towards API and most of it would be towards formulation.
Okay. And you highlighted in one of your slides that you're moving up the value curve in the formulations towards more of the specialized part of the generic. So currently I'm assuming you don't do much of specialized generics. So over the next, say, 3 to 4 years, once you build out this portfolio, what sort of sales mix within formulation could that have? And what sort of margin profile do these specialized generics operate at? How much higher would it be relative to your current margin profile within the generic portfolio?
Yeah. Again, I'll stay away from guiding on this front, but I think that explains the difference between the margins of the innovator companies versus the generic companies. I think there is a fairly large delta between the two, and our move towards specialty products will kind of help us bridge some of those gaps. So that's a broad guidance I can give you, but more specific will be not appropriate from a strategic and proprietary perspective.
So this specialized generic would be in existing geographies, which is your Brazil, Turkey, and India, or you're looking at US as well. This is part of the US plan, or this is extra US?
So obviously, the specialized products which I'm referring to is more towards the US and European kind of markets and less towards India and Brazil, Turkey kind of markets.
Sure. And is there a ROC threshold that you can talk of over the next 3 to 5 years? You're making so many investments that probably they'll start to pay off 2 years, 3 years out. But so ROC, can we start looking at in the range of 30%-ish once these investments start to pay off, margin profile goes up, operating kicks in with better growth? Any comments on that?
So again, while I can't really guide you to numbers because a lot of strategy has to still play out, but clearly the vision is to keep improving the ROC. At the same time, not shying away from investments if it means a dip in ROC in the short run, because I think a 20% ROC is from a 7.5% 3 years back. We have achieved fairly good outcome. As somebody said, we walked the talk, and somebody said we partly walked the talk, but we did walk the talk in some way or the other. So we are very pleased with that outcome, but that is not going to be a determinant for all our investments. We are happy to sacrifice some ROCs in the short run if it has a big delta for us in the long run. And that's clearly the board and the promoter mandate for us. Having said that, these decisions are always taken at a board level after considerable deliberations.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Abhishek, can we maybe...
So this is the last question, sir.
This will be the last question.
Yeah,
I now hand the conference over to Mr. Manish Gupta for closing comments.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your questions, and we hope we have been able to answer most of your queries. As we close fiscal 21, the key message from our side is that Sequent's business model is unique and a well-diversified business model. With the new promoters that we now have, we are further building on our financial and management bandwidth to add more growth engines to the same. Successful organizations across the world have been built on the back of exemplary teams, sound systems, and we are proceeding in that direction by hiring the best of talent from global corporations, as well as engaging consultants to provide the right framework for both strategy as well as processes. These investments, as you can imagine, will reflect in increased cost in the short to medium term. Before I conclude, I would like to commend the employees of Sequent who rose to the occasion in these very trying times, and the whole success of what we have built today is solely because of their efforts and commitment. Thank you once again, and we can now close the call.
Thank you very much. On